What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer. Taking a look at an updated list, of ABC Cyber Dragon. Unfortunately, this is probably the weakest the deck has ever been, since I started playing it. A few cards that really hurt, of course, was Union Carrier. That was kind of the first thing. You can use it in Master Duel, which is pretty nice. It's fun to play this at full power. But I'm talking about the TCG here. And of course, Predaplant Verte Anaconda was also pretty darn rough. If they just create, again, I've talked about this in my last video. If they just created a Link monster that sent Overload Fusion, and if they just created Union Carrier, but it only let you equip Union monsters, then this deck would just be just as good as it was at its peak. So it's kind of unfortunate, right? Because when you have Overload Fusion, you can go into Rampage Dragon, and then Rampage Dragon just lets you Foolish Burial machine monsters. Like, it's crazy, right? There's just no way to basically use that anymore. So the deck's a little handicapped, but it's still really fun to play. So I'm going to show some replays, and then that's just how it's going to go, okay? I'm going to do the deck profile and replays. Okay, so starting off with Jizakuri, okay. This is a light machine monster. It can be searched. Either you open it, right? Or it can be searched off a Cyber Repair Plant. So it's good to get rid of those like windows and stuff. If your opponent has window, if you want to give yourself at least a chance, right? You can normal summon core, add Cyber Repair Plant, you crash into Winda, main phase 2, Cyber Repair Plant, add Jizakuri, maybe you have a Cyber Dragon in your hand, right? And then you can, it's a machine monster, it's a light machine, which is great. So it can be converted into with like Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, all that kind of good stuff. It's decent interaction for this deck. It's a good kind of like pivot point. Like Cyber Repair Plant is like almost a really weird version of Small World. It's not, but in the sense of Small World being able to pivot into a lot of options. Like sometimes you can add these cards. Like there's so much synergy between these two archetypes. It really, like at its peak, was so like amazingly good. Okay, 3 Ash Blossom. I do run like 6 hand traps in this deck. This deck is already inherently going good second, so like you don't need as many hand traps in your lineup. This is like pretty good. Galaxy Soldier. This card is great at throwing away pieces, right? Or it can like chuck a Hertz, which can give you advantage. It's one of the best things about this, Obviously it goes into infinity, which is always a good thing. It's been around forever. It's also a light machine target for Cyber Repair Plant. Union Driver, it's the one brick of the deck. Definitely exists. Hopefully you don't open it. The very least you can equip with unauthorized reactivation, but for Union Hanger, it just really sucks to see this. This has always been my weird ABC lineup. I've never understood like why ABC decks would ever play multiples of these because they stink. Like if I have this and this in my opening, I'm like, ugh, that's not a very good thing. So I like to basically only search down with Union Hanger. They can also be equipped, right? Because Cyber Dragon Core is a light machine. This can only be equipped to light machines. Yep, and then you can just kind of like unequip it and all that good stuff. So a lot of synergy, like I said. But yeah, of course, like when it comes to these pieces, like you want to have 2 because you want to be able to equip itself. Because if you have Union Hanger and Galaxy Soldier in your hand, you can normal summon Buster Drake. You equip one, you special summon it, turn those into IP Masquerena, double search, and then Galaxy Soldier can pitch both of them. So you get Infinity and ABC Dragon Buster, which is pretty nice. 3 Cyber Dragon. I used to run this at 2, but I do play machine duplication, so it's like kind of necessary, obviously. So that's why I play this at 3. It's also it's still a good going second card. It's also great against Zeus if your opponent doesn't realize that you run Fortress Dragon, right? Because Zeus is a machine monster. 3 Cyber Dragon Core. It's definitely one of the better normal summons, like in Yu-Gi-Oh in general. At least it's got to be up there because it pluses so much. You can normal summon it, go into Almirage, search Cyber Repair Plant. You can normal summon it, grab a really good trap card. You can normal summon it, and it works with machine duplication. There's so many cool things that you can do. Also, you can banish it from the graveyard to give yourself some pretty cool stuff. If only your opponent controls a monster, right? If your board's empty, you can banish it from the graveyard. You can special summon a Nashter from the deck. Nashter can bring something back like an Infinity or whatever the case may be. Or maybe it's just a body you need for a Link summon. Cyber Dragon Core is good stuff. Nashter is a good one of. It's also just kind of like an extender, right? It can get rid of one of your pieces like in extreme situations. But I kind of talked about it. It's kind of more of an interaction for core. Or you draw it, one of the two. Also, it becomes Cyber Dragon on the field, so it works with machine dupe. Okay, Cyber Dragon Hurts is also just a good card that gets discarded. It's something that works with reactivation. But the thing is, like, right, you're discarding with ABC Dragon Buster, which is unfortunate, right? It's a -1, but it becomes a neutral interaction with Hurts because you can search out Cyber Dragon. 2 triple tackle talents because you're going to be wasting a lot of your hand resources. This is not like your turn 2 resources come from the board, right? Because you're going to have ABC Dragon Buster and you could bring all 3 of these back. So it's really just kind of having that punching power, but that's where triple tactical talents kind of helps, right? If your opponent hand traps you, maybe you still like this thing eats hand traps pretty easily, depending on the situation. But a lot of times it can eat hand traps, so maybe you can want to look at your opponent's hand. They're starting with 3 cards. You might have 3 interruptions or 3 interactions, even through that interruption. It just kind of depends. Cyber Emergency. Thank goodness Drytron never got this card banned. It just searches out core, or if you have one, you can search out Hurts. It's always good too. Machine Duplication, obviously, is just wild card. Terraforming at 1, Union Hanger. It's a very good card. You want to see it as much as possible. Talk about Cyber Repair Plant, 3 unauthorized reactivation, 3 Union Hanger, obviously one of the best field spells in the game. 3 Imperm, just kind of the generic hand traps, right? I guess you can make these whatever you want, but this is usually good in almost every situation, or usable at the very least. And then 1 Overflow, right? Most of the time you're going to search for Repair Plant, but every once in a while, if you already have it in your hand, or depending on the hand, you can search Cybernetic Overflow, and it's just a good interruption. It's just really hard for your opponent to deal with. Trap card that destroys multiple cards. Onto the extra deck. I have Mega Fleet Dragon, great for getting cards out of the extra monster zone, right? Like Ripperoni to add Ignister. That's just a nightmare matchup for them, right? Invoked Macabre, so in case someone Ghost Ogres your Nova, I think I have it in a replay, or destroys it somehow, or Nibiru's it, whatever, you get at least an interruption out of it, which is Macabre. Whenever it leaves the field, lets you summon a light machine fusion monster, and that falls under that target. I could probably also have Rampage Dragon, but it is such a niche interaction. Like, your opponent's rarely going to destroy Nova. But in case they do, and especially Nibiru, it's good to have something as follow-up. ABC Dragon Buster, I don't run 3 of these, and it's never really goes that far for me. Games are fairly quick when it comes to Cyber Dragon. Fortress Dragon, great for getting rid of machine monsters. Maybe you kaiju to your opponent, and you can take it still, like all that kind of stuff. Infinity and Nova, no surprises there. Underworld Goddess of the Closed World is a really good IP Masquerade target, because now that I don't play DP, this is kind of like the replacement for it, or like it's an interaction instead of DP, it's IP, obviously not as good. I've still thought about running Fusion Destiny in this, but I don't know. The deck, I don't know if it can take that many bricks with the way that it is now, with no way to Fusion Summon from the deck like that. Access Code Talker, always a good card. And it's easy to get all the materials that you need, right? And maybe even you can IP Masquerena for 4, right? And then you have like a 4300 attack access code that can't be destroyed by card effects. Kind of good, maybe. But most of the time you're going to go in Appaloosa, right? A 4 negate Appaloosa that can't be destroyed by card effects. A 3000 attack Appaloosa is pretty decent. Nightmare Unicorn and Nightmare Phoenix, these help you kind of link climb into access code. You're going to have a lot of link materials. That's what this deck kind of excels in. It lets you discard your pieces. So this used to be like Rampage Dragon, like Predaplant. So obviously it's not as good, but these cards do come up actually. They're not the worst thing in the world, of course. Platinum Gadget, it's just a free extender because there aren't really any extra deck extenders. Unfortunately anymore. Hopefully they create one. Like, if this let me equip from deck, I would totally replace this card because it can't be used as a link material that it's the turn it's link summon. But at the very least, if you open up Union Hanger, you're like kind of guaranteed to get Dragon Buster, which is obviously okay. I talk about IP a lot. This card's really good in this deck. And then Almirage, because you can normal summon Cyber Dragon Core, go into Almirage, do your plays. Side deck. Kind of blowout cards are kind of what the whole idea is behind this deck, in a sense. Because you're not really trying to OTK your opponent anymore. You're trying to just like set up and do your thing. Like I run Dark Ruler now. Lightning Storm for those back rows. Evenly match works against a lot of decks, but also back row decks, so I like to play these 2 together. I like to run these cards because you're going to set up some pretty cool end boards, right? And the only thing that's really going to stop you is like maybe trap decks or the big blowout cards like Dark Ruler no more. Yeah, so if you can flip up Anti-Spell Fragrance, which you're going to do a lot, you're going to place these Imperms. It's pretty decent. It's pretty decent. This card's better than you might think, right? I just like cards that basically auto-win you the game, and I think these cards do. So I like to run them going first. I like to run really powerful going first cards in this deck for some reason. Okay. I do have some bonus replays here. We'll start with the Phantom Knights. This is actually pretty entertaining. This is Adventure Phantom Knights. I can't imagine this deck doesn't break a lot, but he does have a good opening hand here. This is obviously, I'm starting off on a decent foot. I did side in Royal Decree, so he is playing the Phantom Knights, obviously. So his extenders are there, Fog Blade. I figured that if I can set up a pretty, half decent board, then I should be able to do some pretty good stuff. This wasn't the best opening, let's be honest, but I do have 2 pops. I do have an Omni Negate and maybe an IP. This could be an IP. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. So, okay. He does go for, the token there. I destroyed both of them. Although, really, IP wasn't even open, so I should have just destroyed Fateful Adventure, probably. And, CAD Core. I think that would have been pretty decent. He goes into Zeus. Of course, I'm going to negate that. And then he does have some plays afterwards, but not too many, to be honest with you. He didn't really have the best opening either. And he's probably going to play right into the Shade, with Shade Brigadier. I think he pretty much has to. So he's going to go for Sea Levy. He's going to special summon this. He's going to turn that into a Dark, and then I'm going to turn on Royal Decree. So that does erase that. So he's going to send, the Night's Wing, turn those into Rusty, but whatever Rusty sets isn't even usable, unfortunately for him. So yes, this is kind of a goofy duel, but hopefully he had a little bit of fun there. Okay, I can bring back the Nova. And then he just goes ahead and surrenders, right? Because I can banish this. This is going to gain 2100 attack. I can even attack with Naster first. So 2500, it's like 4000. It's more than enough for lethal for sure. So that was kind of hilarious. Here is against Despia Tear Lament. And he plays a lot of Despia cards. It's really, Despia seems like a sub-engine, which is kind of interesting. But yes, anytime, you can go through this combo with Gadget, you can at least summon ABC Dragon Buster. It has some other forms of interaction too, right? Because here's the deal, I can go into ABC Dragon Buster, I can discard Hertz, which is also going to turn on Overflow. Plus I have an Imperm, so it's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and trip those out, right? Because Fallen Balbaz has to use materials from the field, including itself, so that's not going to happen. So I can go ahead and bring those back, that's going to get banished. And then Cyber, a whole bunch of stuff is going to trigger. That's what I love about this deck. I'm just getting rid of 2 of these bricks. I'm just grabbing them from the deck. So if Core goes to the graveyard, I think he's smart and, attacks it first. But a lot of the times when you do something like this, you get to add back with Core, which is pretty nice. I did have the Imperm there for the Lubellion, so he can't go into Mirror Jade. I'm going to go ahead and destroy the field. That way he has to use Polymerization with all the materials in his hand, which is pretty good, and then he's going to go ahead and change everything to 0 attack and then attack over some stuff, which is fine, right? Because now I can go into B Buster Drake, I can go into another ABC Dragon Buster, and now I have Anti-Spell Fragrance, which is clearly very good against this deck. And I'm just off to the races at that point, you know what I mean? So, like I said, yes, you're not going to have a lot of cards in your hand, but your follow-up's going to be on your field. It's really hard for your opponent to clear everything. Not easy to do. Okay, just a couple more. This is against Dinos. And this is just kind of showing you how this deck can eat hand traps. So it's going to go ahead and immediately Ash that. I'm feeling really, really good because I already have Core in my hand. So I can go ahead and normal summon there. I can grab B Buster Drake. He's going to Imperm the Core. I could have chained unauthorized reactivation, but I'd rather go ahead and extend my plays a little bit more. Either way would have been pretty valid. But, okay, this is going to special summon. I can grab, the C or the B, and then I can special summon that out. And at least now I have IP Masquerena and B Buster, right? So I can Chain Link 1, Buster, Chain Link 2, IP, Chain Link 3, go into, switching all these out. So I can banish a card and then go into that 4 negate Appaloosa. Also, while having the follow-up that I need, right? I can go into another ABC Dragon Buster next turn. So it's just kind of fun. Again, this is the weakest version the deck has ever had, but it's still playable. It's not a big steaming pile of garbage. It still can make some pretty cool plays. Okay, he's going to play with Exo Sister. He's going to go for Zoroa, maybe? Zoro. Don't know how to say that, but he does have Necro Valley. interesting thing just to have in your main deck. This deck can play around a lot of things, fortunately, so definitely some cool things that you can do. That's a free special summon. Okay, I can go ahead and equip there. I can equip the A. I unfortunately cannot use the effect of A, right? Because it would move something from the graveyard. That kind of sucks. He did have an Ash there for Hertz. That's totally fine. Didn't really make that much of a difference, like, at all. And I can go ahead and go there. And then I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, like, oh, unfortunate, right? I don't have ABC Dragon Buster, like something to discard with. But then I'm thinking, wait, there's almost always a way to get to lethal. So I can go ahead and bring something back with Nova. Again, this deck's really good at link climbing. I can go into Unicorn, then I can go to Access Code Talker. This is actually going to give me exact amount of lethal, which is pretty funny. So Access Code obviously is just a very good card. It always helps road decks like this. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time.